Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Pesachim. We are up to Perek Bet Mishnah Chet. Today's Mishnah should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Aranbaev, and Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Menuchatam Began Eden, Amen. The Mishnah begins, En notnin kemach letoch charoset or letoch achardal. We may not add flour to charoset. Charoset in this case refers to a certain dip that contains vinegar and water. Now this charoset should not be confused with the charoset in which the maror is dipped during the Seder. We may not add flour likewise to mustard, which is made from crushed mustard seeds and water, because the water in these mixtures might make the flour chametz. Ve'im natan yachel miyad. But if one did add flour to mustard, it can be eaten immediately because it does not become chametz right away. In fact, the commentators explain he must eat it immediately before the flour becomes chametz. Now the Mishnah refers here only to flour that was added to mustard. If flour was added to charoset, it may not be eaten at all, but must be burned immediately because it becomes chametz quickly, even within 18 minutes, as the Rav says. Rabbi Meir oser. However, Rabbi Meir forbids one to eat it even immediately, because the Rav explains, according to Rabbi Meir, there is no difference between mustard and charoset. In both cases, there is concern that the flour will become chametz immediately. The Mishnah continues, En mevashlin et Pesach lo b'mashkin v'lo b'mei parot. We may not boil the Pesach offering in any liquids or in fruit juices. Now the commentators explain the Torah prohibits one to eat a Pesach offering that was boiled in water, as the Torah says in Sefer Shemot, chapter 12, pasuk 9, Al tachlu mimenu na uvashel mevushal b'mayim. You shall not eat it partially roasted or boiled at all in water. Although the pasuk mentions water, the rabbis understand it as including other liquids as well, because it states boiled at all. Now the term mashkin, liquids, refers here to the liquids that make food capable of becoming tameh, such as water, wine, milk, and several others. Food cannot become tameh unless it was first moistened by one of these liquids, and the term mei perot, fruit juices, includes other liquids that come from fruit. Aval sachin umatbilin oto bahen. However, after roasting the Pesach, we may smear these liquids on it or dip it into them. And the Rav in his first explanation explains, we are not concerned that these liquids will overcome the flavor of the meat. The water used by a baker to cool his hands when preparing dough for matzot must be poured out. Because the bits of dough in the water will become chametz. The Rav explains he must pour the water onto a sloping surface so that it will be quickly absorbed into the ground, rather than collect in a puddle, which would allow the pieces of dough to become chametz. The Rav did point out previously, the halakha did not follow the opinion of Rabbi Meir regarding the beginning of the Mishnah. And that is the end, Rabotai, of Perek Bet Mishnah Chet. We begin now with Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. The following Mishnah discusses the law of removing chametz with respect to two special categories of chametz: mixtures containing chametz and chametz not fit to eat, which is called chametz nukshe. Nukshe is the name given to any chametz that is not truly fit to be eaten but is not completely inedible. The Mishnah begins with mixtures of chametz. Elu ovrin ba-Pesach. These substances must be removed on Pesach, since they are not allowed to be in one's possession. Kutach abavli, Babylonian kutach, which was a dip made from sour milk and somewhat moldy breadcrumbs. V'shechara madi, and Median beer, which was beer produced in the times of the Mishnah, was commonly made from dates and therefore was not chametz. The beer from Madi, Media, was made from barley and was chametz. The chometz adomi, and the vinegar of adomi, which was made with barley. Vizitom mitzri, and Egyptian zitom, which was a drink made from barley, saffron, and salt. The Mishnah now lists three cases of chametz nukshe, which is chametz not fit to eat. Vizoman shel tzabaim, the bran water used by dyers, meaning water in which wheat or barley bran was soaked and used in producing certain red dyes. Va'amilan shel tabachim, the amilan used by cooks, which was a kind of bread made from young, unripe grain that has not yet reached 1/3 of its ripeness, which a cook would place over the mouth of a pot to absorb the froth and bad smell. V'kolan shel sofrim, and scribes' glue, which is a paste-like glue made from flour dust of millstones used by scribes to bind together their paper scrolls. Now, these three types of chametz are all still somewhat edible and can be eaten in an emergency. The chametz prohibition therefore applies to them. However, chametz that is completely inedible may be kept over Pesach, as the Mishnah Berurah writes in chapter 442, Sivkat and 5. Now, this Tana prohibits possessing chametz not fit to eat, nukshe, or a mixture containing edible chametz. He does not prohibit possessing a mixture containing inedible chametz, whereas Rabbi Eliezer is strict even about this. Rabbi Eliezer says, Av tachshite nashim, also forbidden are women's cosmetics made with chametz and used by women to remove facial hair. Although these cosmetics contain only chametz nukshe mixed together with other ingredients, Rabbi Eliezer rules that one may not own them on Pesach. Zeh klal, this is the rule according to Rabbi Eliezer. Kol shum mimin dagan areu zeh over b'Pesach. One transgresses the prohibition of owning chametz on Pesach with anything made from a species of grain that is leavened. Now, this statement is true only according to Rabbi Eliezer. The first Tana, however, does not require the removal of these types of women's cosmetics from one's possession on Pesach, even though they contain grain products, as Tosfot points out on page 43a in Masechet Pesachim. Now, Mishnah discusses the prohibition of eating these substances on Pesach. Hare elu ba'ashara, these substances are forbidden to be eaten on Pesach by biblical prohibition. Ven be mishum karet, but there is no penalty of karet for eating them. Eating chametz on Pesach is punishable by karet, as the Torah says in Sefer Shemot, chapter 12, pasuk 15. However, that pasuk refers only to eating pure chametz, not chametz mixed with other foods, and to chametz that is fully edible. The prohibition to eat chametz in a mixture or chametz that is not really fit to eat, nukshe, comes from a different pasuk. Kol machmetz lo tochelu. You may not eat any chametz products. That's pasuk 20, chapter 12, pasuk 20 in Sefer Shemot. Now that pasuk does not mention a prohibition of karet, merely a prohibition. Therefore, there is no karet attached to eating these substances, only the usual penalty of lashes, malkut, that applies to most biblical isurim. In the case of a mixture of chametz and other items, he would receive lashes only if he ate enough of the mixture to have eaten a kazait of the chametz itself, and he did so within a short amount of time, kedei chilat pras. And the Rav does tell us, Rabbi Eliezer, the halacha does not follow Rabbi Eliezer. That is the end of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen v'amen.